I once made a drawing of my voice on sunny afternoon. It was a leaf with a very thick outline, a big blob in the background, the leaf just cutting through it. I don't know what that means.
Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles, where Andy and John, that's me and him, get together and discuss music with one another in this pleasant little exchange we have. And speaking of that exchange, John, you are up as far as the offering is concerned. What will you have me peep out today?
So, going to a band we covered before, and I'm going through a few of their selected choice cuts. The band is the Kinks.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Okay.
and so the track I'd like you to listen to today is called I'm Not Like Everybody Else.
Okay. How authentically original. All right. Well, let me go off, give this a spin, and come back and let you know what I think. Love that sound.
I won't take all that they hand me down and make out I smile though I wear a frown. And I'm not gonna take it all lying down, 'cause once I get started.
This doesn't sound like Ray Davies. I don't think, anyway. I don't know. I don't know enough about him to feel truly confident if I could make that call, but from what I'm familiar with thus far, it doesn't. Anyway, I'm gonna pull this back because I love the way that this song began. The tone and twangy resonance of that guitar was sort of a great table setter for me, and then to hear that bass slide in, checking a lot of boxes for me thus far.
I won't take all that they hand me down and make out I smile though I wear a frown. And I'm not gonna take it all lying down, 'cause once I get started I go to town. 'Cause I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else.
There's almost that when he lifts up there for more emphasis. There's almost this like when Lennon did like Twist and Shout. You know how he couldn't do it without that his like straining his voice. And I think at the time that was kind of like, whoa, that's unheard of in pop rock and roll. This is obviously, I would think, a little bit later than that, but there's still some of that to it. You know, where his voice kind of teeters on the line of breaking, but for some reason, maybe that's not traditionally perfect, but it makes it better for me anyway. I just love the way that this added, like, I don't know, emotional emphasis on what he's saying is offered up by way of that straining sound, and I just have always kind of liked that and sort of what that opened the gates for beyond it in rock and roll. This idea of it's okay to strain your voice if it's for added mood or the conveyance of like feeling and emotion.
I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. And I don't wanna run around like everybody else. And I don't wanna live my life like everybody else. And I will say that I'm fine like everybody else. 'Cause I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. And darling, you know that I love you true. Do anything that you want me to.
I love how the bass went from that very bouncy to, into this gentle, sweet sound of the verse. It's a nice juxtaposition.
'Cause confess all my sins like you want me to. There's one thing that I will say to you. I'm not like everybody else. 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 And I don't wanna run around like everybody else. And I don't wanna live my life like everybody else. And I won't say that I'm confined like everybody else. 'Cause I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else.
It's like listening to Flubber fall down a flight of steps. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. It's bouncy, almost gelatinous, but it's it's like falling downward in its sound. This is also just, this leans back into a little bit what I was saying about his delivery. There is this defiance to this song, or this like a clear break from conformity. I mean, I'm not like everybody else is, I mean, as about as direct as you can get in conveying that you're, you know, anti-conformity without just coming right out and saying I'm anti-conformity. But I like this. There's this there's grit in this song, but there's also this like 60s psychedelic rock sound to some of this. I think the guitar really helps in offering up that sort of psychedelic sound at times, with a picked through motif that it plays at different points in this. But this sounds, yeah, terrific. I'm enjoying this track a lot. It is very of that 60s period, you know what I mean? When we went from, you know, Please Please Me to more of this experimental sound. So, I don't know, doesn't say the year. I would say that this would be like mid-60s. You know, I hate to, when it comes to the decade of the 60s, I always mark it by basically something that has to do with the Beatles, as I just did with Please Please Me. This is more like Rubber Soul, Revolver, 1960s, where people are starting to tinker around with sounds and experiment. At least that's what it sounds like to me. I could be completely off here, but it has that sound to it, and I really love this because this is really like a kind of a linchpin moment in rock and roll.
Like everybody else. Like everybody else. Like everybody else. Like everybody else. If you all want me to settle down, slow up and stop all my running around. Do everything like you want me to. There's one thing that I will say to you. I'm not like everybody else. 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 And I don't wanna run around like everybody else. And I don't wanna live my life like everybody else. And I don't wanna speak fine like everybody else. 'Cause I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else.
Holy shit, the rapidity of those bass lines. I gotta hear that again. I love the bass in this track. It's like, for me, it's the star. Well, it and the tone of that guitar, and sort of the guitar picking, are really like 1A, 1B for me. It sounds fucking fabulous.
Everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. 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 Like everybody else.
That bass is so great. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I've really enjoyed John, and appreciated John filling in the this gap in 60s music for me. I mean, I know the Kinks, I know they're sort of what I had assumed were their biggest hits. I mean, some of these may be equally as large, but it just didn't come on my radar. Um, but this has been it's been a real fun listen because it's like I'm so familiar with with bands of the same era that had the same kind of sound. It's kind of nice to discover one late in the game. I mean, it's better late than never, right? And their sound is fabulous. I mean, it is so quintessential, like 1960s. I don't know what we call it, classic rock at this point, I guess, or whatever name you want to throw on it. I think we all know what I'm talking about here. It's that mid 60s, just after the British invasion kind of point where rock was turning from pop into something more substantive and interesting and like I said, it's experimental. And there's some of that going on here. It's yeah, this is less bubblegum and more defiant. And I think that was the transition that a lot of bands were going through at this period, I assume. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I thought it had, let's see, like there was a bit of grit to this, like I mentioned before, but there's also something wildly psychedelic about the guitar sounds in this. And I really enjoyed that dynamic. And the harmonies were fabulous. The bass was fucking out of this world. Some great guitar tones and picking. Yeah, this might be my new favorite from the Kinks. I'll have to give it a few more listens and hold it up against some of the stuff that John has already introduced to me and some of the stuff that I knew from these guys before that. But I think this is definitely up there for me. So yeah, be interested to learn more about this track and the album. So let's get back to the man that offered it up and see John on the other side.
Spam Ferkel, he's back. So you've listened to I'm Not Like Everybody Else by the Kinks. What do you reckon?
Well, it opens with this twangy resonance of a strummed electric guitar. Then after a half-beat pause, we get a brief rap of the drum coupled with this quick little 5-note motif on the guitar. And another half beat after this, the first verse kicks off. And to me, this doesn't sound that reminiscent of Ray Davies' voice, if I'm being honest, and the other stuff we've done by these guys. So that was not jarring, but odd, I guess, a little bit. I do like the delivery. It just wasn't what I was expecting. The verse is kind of centered around the guitar motif, and a few lines into it, the bass slides in, adding some added depth and fullness to the soundscape. He sings, "I won't take all that they hand me down and make out a smile, though I wear a frown, followed by, 'cause I'm not gonna take it all lying down, 'cause once I get started, I go to town." So already he's sounding defiant, like he's trying to establish himself as anything but establishment, leaning into authenticity over conformity. And then we enter what I figure is this like pre-chorus portion, and it's not as if this song didn't already have that 60s sound to it. But this portion to these ears is even more like this sticks out even more as sort of being quintessentially of that period. And it's this is a good thing. I'm not calling it out like, and this is why I don't like it, but it's actually feels very much at home, given what I came up listening to as acquisition through my parents. And during this part, he echoes the titular line a few times as this beautifully picked through arpeggio captures notes perfectly on the guitar. This bit of the song sounds more open, and the motif on the guitar suggests a slight bit of grit, with more than just a tinge of that early psychedelic rock sound. I couldn't help but think that this is after the Please Please Me era of early 60s rock, and now we're kind of, and we always do this where like the Beatles references become the points of demarcation through this period of rock and roll, but it now sounds very much like we're entering the Revolver Rubber Soul era of rock music at this time, where we haven't gone completely fucking magical mystery tour yet, but we're at that phase of we're weaning out of the pop and into the more introspective, thoughtful early psychedelic sound, which I love. I think this is like the perfect pocket, I actually. And from here, the beat picks up, and that openness I just spoke of becomes more focused, as I believe that we're now in the chorus proper. And during this, Davies continues to emphasize that he doesn't want to be like everybody else. He doesn't want to walk about, live his life like them, and he won't bullshit himself or others about saying, he feels fine like everybody else. And why, you ask? It's simple. He's not like everybody else. We transition back into the verse, and I have to say, I really enjoy hearing how the bass pivots from this very bouncy and insistent motif of the chorus into this beautiful, like higher notation in the verse. It's an interesting juxtaposition that's pulled off seamlessly as far as transitioning is concerned. And now the singer spends the next verse addressing his darling, confirming that he loves her true and that he would do anything she wants, including confessing all of his sins to her. But there is one thing he needs to reiterate. Enter pre-chorus. He's not like everybody else. More pre-chorus comes here with the shimmering guitar work that has a bit of that, as you described this in past reactions. I wish I could remember which, but this spinning gem aspect to it, in that with each of the notes, it's like looking at the same gemstone as it rotates with different light hitting it or through different aspects. And it shines and sparkles differently with each note, and it reflects differently with each note. And after another obligatory chorus, we get treated to yet another iteration of the pre-chorus. I guess you could call it a post-chorus at this point. And at the end of each repeated, not like everybody else, we get this killer flubber falling down the steps, rapidly descending bass flourish. But it sounds like gelatinous, like yeah, I just love it so much. And it's very infectious and fun, and I couldn't help but grin when I heard it, and then when I would hear it again subsequently. We get more hand claps and a picked at guitar motif that follows. And to be honest, I could have used another few repetitions of that. I really was enjoying the tone of that guitar. That seemed like it ended a little too quick for me. Give me a few more repetitions. What the fuck? It's not that long of a song. This gives way to a third and final verse in which he notifies everyone that if they want him to settle down or slow up and stop running around and conform to their expectation, well, there's just one thing he has to say about that, and it is he's not like everybody else. This is followed by another pre-chorus and chorus, and thank the gods, even more of those fun, rapidly descending bass runs, and then they inject more of those hand claps here as these harmonizing voices exchange this truncated version of the titular line until the song comes to an end. Speaking of those harmonies, throughout when they appeared, they were really great. Those two voices sound really, really good together. This had all of those quintessential, back third or back half of the 60s sound rock and roll that I enjoy so much. So I'd be hard pressed to not enjoy this track. In fact, this might be my favorite by the Kinks that we've listened to here on the channel. And I can't emphasize enough how much I really enjoyed each of their offerings you suggested. But there was something about this that really caught my ear. The tone of the guitar, everything about the bass, the well-placed harmonies, it all stacked up to be a joy to listen to. So, John, tell me more about this track and the album on which it features, please.
Thank you for that, Andy. I would echo those sentiments to a certain extent. It's not my favorite Kinks song, but there is something about this song, even though it's so very simple.
Yeah,
That it really holds your attention, and I think it's a great song. There's that little bit of like mysterious whatever they've tapped into.
yes, there is.
So I'm not like everybody else. They all say that, don't they? was a song written by Ray Davies and first recorded by the Kinks in 1966. And it was released that year as a B-side to the single Sunny Afternoon. The lead vocal, very rarely, is actually sung by his brother Dave Davies.
Oh,
So an occasional harmonizing parts, vocal parts were done by Ray.
okay.
So that's why
That makes sense.
fit together. So normally when they write a song, whoever's written it quite often sings it. So when he does let Dave songs onto there, then Dave sings them, which isn't that often. About as often as George Harrison.
Yeah,
but
the fellas will let George have a go at it.
Yeah. But so Ray had written this song actually for the Animals, but it was turned down. So that's why they released their own version. The song very quickly became a huge favourite and a fan favourite, and was often part of the Kinks live act. And Ray Davies continues to play the song regularly and used it as his opening number in his 2006-2008 solo live tour.
Oh, no shit. That's cool.
The song is included on many compilations, including Sunny Afternoon in the UK in 67, the Great Lost Kinks album in the US in 73, and the 2002 Great Hits release, the album compilation. It also appears as a bonus track on the reissue of Face to Face, which is that one there. And it was kind of in between that. And it also appears on the deluxe version of the King Controversy and an anthology as well. So, recap: Dave Davies, lead guitar, lead vocals. Ray Davies, backing guitar, backing vocals, electric guitar. Peter Quay for bass, and Mick Avery drums. And there is an organ part audible in this recording, although no organist is credited in the contemporary documentation. I suspect it was Ray. There we go. Now, there is also a live version of this, which is very commonly referenced. And it comes from, I think, the 70s. And it has Ray on lead vocals and a much, much beefed up 1970s heavy rock sound to it. I think Davies described it as his Eric Clapton song. And there's a lot, so there's like a 2-minute guitar noodling as the intro. It's much sort of heavier, sort of rock. I just prefer this version. I think a lot of people enjoy that version. There's nothing wrong with it, but I just really love something about this and the sound of it, that 60s sound as well. So lyrics, fairly simple, but here we go. I won't take all that they hand me down and make out a smile, though I wear a frown. And I'm not going to take it all lying down, because once I get started, I go to town. Because I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. And I don't want to ball around like everybody else. And I don't want to live my life like everybody else. And I won't say I feel fine like everybody else, because I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. That's the killer bit for me. I really love that bit. And it's funny how it says that I won't say I feel fine, which obviously references the Beatles song. But darling, you know that I love you true. Do anything that you want me to. Confess all my sins like you want me to. There's one thing I would say to you: I'm not like everyone else. I'm not like everyone else. I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. And I don't want to ball around like everybody else. And I don't want to live my life like everybody else. And I won't say I feel fine like everybody else, because I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. Like everybody else, like everybody else, like everybody else, like everybody else. If you all want me to settle down, slow up and stop all my running around, do everything that you want me to. Do everything like you want me to, sorry. And there's one thing I will say to you. Guess what? I'm not like everyone else. I'm not everyone else. I'm not the same everyone else. And I don't want to ball around like everyone else. I don't want to live my life like everyone else. I don't want to feel fine like everyone else, because I'm not like everyone else. I'm not like everyone else. Like everyone else, 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 like everyone else.
Nailed it.
So there's not much else to the song, but to give you a sort of glimpse into what was going on with the Kinks and Mr. Ray Davies in particular and his peculiar mind at the time, there's a bit of information about Sunny Afternoon, which was the A-side to this. So Sunny Afternoon, which I don't know if do you know that song?
I'd have to listen to it to know for sure. It sounds familiar, but I'm not confident.
It starts off with this sort of like, again, a bass that's going down, so it's doom, 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 taxman's taken on my... Anyway, it was a song by the Kinks, written by Ray Davies, and released as a single in June 1966, and was included on this album Face to Face that was released later in October. Like its contemporary song Taxman by the Beatles, the song references the high levels of progressive tax taken by the British Labour government of Harold Wilson, although it does so through the lens of an unsympathetic aristocrat bemoaning the loss of his vast unearned wealth. Sunday Afternoon was written in Ray Davies's house when he was ill. He recalls, I'd bought a white upright piano. I hadn't written for a time. I'd been ill. I was living in a very 1960s decorated house. It had orange walls and green furniture. My 1-year-old daughter was crawling on the floor, and I wrote the opening riff. I remember it vividly. I was wearing a polo neck sweater. Davies used a song's narrator to reflect on his own situation in the song's lyrics. He's in quotes, the only way I could interpret how I felt was through a dusty, fallen aristocrat who would come from old money as opposed to the wealth I created for myself. In order to prevent the listener from sympathizing with the song's protagonist, Davies said, I turned into a scoundrel who fought with his girlfriend after a night of drunkenness and cruelty. And just say that in the lyrics, actually. And Davies explained the circumstances in which the song was written and recorded. He says, and again, I don't know if this is true or not, but he says, Sunday Afternoon was made very quickly in the morning. It was one of our most atmospheric sessions. At the time I wrote Sunday Afternoon, I couldn't listen to anything. I was only playing the greatest hits of Frank Sinatra and Dylan's Maggie's Farm. I just liked its whole presence. I was playing the Bringing It All Back Home LP, along with Frank Sinatra and Glenn Miller and Bach. It was a strange time. I thought they all helped one another. They went into the chromatic part that's in the back of the song. I once made a drawing of my voice on Sunday Afternoon. It was a leaf with a very thick outline, a big blob in the background, the leaf just cutting through it. I don't know what that means. Really
that
interesting quote.
Yeah.
So Sunday Afternoon went to number one in the UK the following month in July and remained there for 2 weeks at the top of the charts. In America, it peaked at number 14 in the Billboard Hot 100 in early autumn of the same year. And in a 1995 interview, Ray Davies recalled being surprised at the song's broad appeal, stating, Sunday Afternoon, I remember the record coming out, and I walked into the British Legion or a pub or something. I thought I was in a British Legion. And all these people, old soldiers and things, were singing it. I was 23 years old. And I said, wow, all these old people really like it. And this old guy came up to me and said, you young guys, this is the sort of music we can relate to. And I thought, wow, this is it. This is the end. But it clearly wasn't. So that gives you a glimpse into what he was like at the time in his mind. It's quite funny. Yeah, strange enough. But yeah, I think this is a great song. It's one of the sort of earlier ones as well, and it's really atmospheric. My intention is to give you quite a few more Kinks songs because I think they're vastly underrated as a band, and there's some really interesting stuff they've done. And some of their albums are really top tier. So yeah, but I thought this is a nice early one without the sort of Go He Got Me or All Day All Night sort of stuff. But really good stuff.
No,
cool.
This is good. I'm really appreciating you shedding lights on their oeuvre that isn't the unavoidable stuff that broke over here. You know what I mean? Which I mean, God, it's has been at points throughout my life unavoidable with the commercialization and all this stuff using their tracks on stuff like. So to hear some of this stuff that has just never flown on my radar, it's nice. It's also nice that, in my mind, and maybe this is a result of oversaturation of some of those aforementioned tracks that you alluded to, but like enjoying some of these like leaps and bounds more, which is to take nothing away from them. I've just overheard them and I'm sort of at that point with them. You know what I mean? So it's like fresh. It's like getting new music from a band you thought would never make new music because you've never opened yourself up to it. And so in this exchange, it's like rediscovery or something. It's great.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. Great. I should wrap things up. Thanks for listening to us, Andy.
Thank you.
Folks out there, please tell us what you think. If you do like this, please slap your meaty paw on the like button and make it count. And drop some comments. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us what you think about this song. The A side to this is another classic and a very English sounding song as well, I think. Which eccentricity that Mr. Davis delights in. So yeah, love to hear what you think about this. Any other? I've got a list of probably about, not that we're going to get to them all, but a dozen more Kinks songs through the ages, but particularly this period from now until Lola. There's some great stuff in those few albums. But yeah, if you got any other suggestions, please drop them. We'd love to be interested to see what you think. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. We really appreciate everybody who does support the channel. That being said, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see all of you in the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.